Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Greggy,
so we can get naked.
you can't say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Welcome to episode number
65.
All right. We are going to talk about putting down our weapons of war today.
Wait. A little background first.
No, we're getting right into it. You want to fight about it?
Yes, I do.
Yes, we have seen some patterns in our coaching lately, and we thought it would be a good idea to talk about that, especially during the holidays, as we talked about a couple episodes ago. Emotions get high. The weight of the holidays gets on us, and we find ourselves coping in different ways. And one of the ways that we found that couples like to cope is they go to war.
They like to fight each other. You know, in many coaching sessions in the past couple of weeks that I've had with y'all, there has been an extra load of stress, an extra load of busyness and tension and heaviness, overwhelm. And so I am thinking of all of you, and what I see happening in this tension and stress and overwhelm is couples starting to fight against each other instead of moving towards each other. And I kind of relate this to this last week we had our granddaughter here.
Woo!
And she's adorable and love her so much. So much.
By the way, this time, for the first time, we got to be grandparents and caregivers for 3 whole days. And
Day and night.
God bless any of the young parents out there. Reminded me why we did that when we were young. Holy cow. We love her to death, but whew, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, we're a little tired. A lot of sleepless nights.
Yep.
Totally worth it.
Yep.
I mean, it helps a lot when you know there's an end in sight.
Exactly.
Like when
Oh, I was so happy to see my daughter come home. You can't believe it. It was amazing.
Anyhow, as I was taking care of her, right before she would fall asleep, she would fight. So really tired, really needing some sleep. And she would just fight it. And me, as her caregiver, her Mamie,
Or Mamie.
I'm Mamie, Greggy's papa, would know that if she just surrendered and just relaxed, she was going to get exactly what she needed. But instead, she would fight. And I think this instinct is still strong in us as married couples. When I see the tension going high, the stress going high, the busyness, the overwhelm, and one thing that's just kind of human nature important is just to be held, to be able to relax into another soul. Hopefully that's your spouse, but be able to just be held, to hold and be held. Like there's something chemically, biologically, neurologically, through your heart, through your soul, that relaxes and kind of gives you the strength to keep going. And what I've witnessed this past couple weeks is couples fighting against each other, like my little grandbaby was doing, instead of turning and saying, you know what we really need is each other, to be held in this moment, to just relax for even 2 minutes, like just to have a moment to reset with each other. Obviously, this doesn't solve all the scheduling. It doesn't solve all the stress. It doesn't solve all the questions of what are we going to get so-and-so and how are we going to resolve this and who's taking which child to which party and what to do with in-laws and et cetera, et cetera. But it sure does help refill your emotional bandwidth and reset your nervous system. It gives you a little more emotional bandwidth. So that's what we're going to talk about today because it seems to be pretty relevant to this time.
Yeah, we got to remember that fighting is not the fire. It's not the thing that we're trying to actually resolve or overcome or work against. It's the smoke, right? It's usually the thing that sets off and it's the smoke. And if we focus purely on that, we can get wrapped up in that so easily. I hated to lose, and I've said this 100 times. And so even if I got set off on the little thing and it was the smoke, I would fight to the death to make sure that I was a winner in this thing. And then we can get wrapped up in these things that really don't matter. And so I think what Amy is really trying to say is not only that human touch, let us breathe it in, it gives us the moment to call time out, right?
Right.
And really discover what are the things that are causing this extra amount of stress or this reaction that's not normally in our relationship or is so intense as is right now.
And even just remember, you're on the same team.
Yeah.
Right? You're not fighting against each other. You're on the same side. You're on the same team. Yes, you have differences of opinions. Maybe you have different ideas of how things should go, but you're on the same team. And so all that emotional energy spent fighting against each other only increases your stress and increases the cortisol and that fight or flight in your brain. So increases all that weight and overwhelm, where even just a few minutes of holding each other can relax those, lower the cortisol, release the oxytocin, allow you to take that deep breath, that deep sigh that you're like, oh, I'm not alone. And I think that's probably what a lot of couples might need right now.
Yeah. If you can do one thing, when you feel that extraordinary amount of emotion hitting you and wanting to fight back and lash out, to me, it's become the red flag. It's become the canary in the coal mine telling me there's something else going on. And I don't catch it all the time. Times when Amy's, where the hell did that come from? That seems to be out of the blue, or that emotion seems to be stronger than really is called for at this time. That's been really important. I think another important thing that you've been able to do is that sometimes you just let me have that emotion
Mhm.
and it doesn't impact you. And then you're like, maybe you didn't like the response, but you're like, okay, I think you were trying to tell me something. I think it was today or yesterday. And I'm like, just get to the point.
Oh, yeah. You
You
snapped
remember
at me.
that?
Yes.
And I got the look. She didn't have to say anything. I got the look. And I'm just like, I know, I didn't say that very well. But what I was trying to say is just tell me what you're trying to get at. That's fine. And it's those moments when you can stop and you can remind each other of, hey, we are on the same team. Be curious about where those emotions are coming from and try to get to some of that fire underneath it. You might not be able to solve it, but at least you can have the conversation about what's really at play here. It's so often the actual argument and fight has nothing to do with what really is at core or at play that you're trying to solve.
And I think right now, with the stress and demands and scheduling being so high, sometimes you just need to not talk.
Yeah.
You just need to hold each other for a few minutes. Maybe that's in the morning before you start your day, maybe in the transition as whoever is working comes home and you're reuniting, maybe before you go to bed. Just that physical connection and touch. And again, this isn't meant to lead to anything, but we are inherently all still that little infant inside of us that yearns to be held, that yearns to be seen. And often just a physical hug can bring so much desire to keep going, like so much more strength and fortitude or whatever is needed. I had a friend on a walk a long time ago tell me that she hugs her children until they let go instead of just going in for a hug and then pulling out. And I was like, that is such a good idea. I love that. I'm going to do that. And I remember the first time I tried it, I went home and I held our middle child, our daughter, and I held her and I just stayed there. I didn't pull away or move on to the next thing. We do often tend to hug them as they come home. Hey, welcome home. Good to see you. This was back when they were all in school. And I just held her. And she started sobbing and she sobbed. And I just held her. And I thought, I think all of us just need this sometime.
You would have missed that moment if
I'm
you
going to
hadn't.
miss that moment. And so it's something that I try and remember as often as I can. Of course, I'm never perfect at it, but especially those that are closest to me, So with Greggy and with kids, when you go in for the physical contact and that hug, be present in it and stay present. And so often all of the tension and the buildup and the stress and the pressure has a moment to just melt a little or release. And you don't have to say anything. In fact, sometimes it might be better to say nothing and just hold each other and remember, yeah, we're in this. It's crazy. It's nuts. We're in this together.
I think it's a little strange because that human touch is so common when we're young and we grow into these new things of why we can't or what it means or how we need to avoid it or how it's uncomfortable. In my manifesto, it starts out as a young child talking about that human touch and what it meant to me and what happened during my growing up years that kind of had put some baggage on it that caused it to be shameful instead of something that was just pure and natural. I don't know what it is. I don't know where I got it from, but I'm a hugger.
You are. You have the best
and
hugs ever. Well,
I
I got lucky.
I think I said in the podcast one time my story about one of my coworkers telling me she was going to throat punch me if I hugged her because I hugged one of my other coworkers in front of her. But I remember one time we had good friends that there was a lightning storm that came through and there were several houses that had caught on fire. And we walked down the street to find our good friend standing out in front of their house and it was burning to the ground. They were losing their whole house.
And they were one of 5 houses that lightning had struck in the matter of a few minutes. So all of the fire departments from all the nearby cities were all deployed and they were running short. And anyways, the fire was burning.
Yeah, it was crazy. The place that we had lived was a new development and it hadn't had time to have the trees or anything. And it was on a slight rise. And so when these lightning storms came in, the number one thing that it could find to hit was houses. And it was hard, but to sit there and watch them go through this. And I walked up to the husband and I just hugged him.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it didn't mean anything. It was just, I was heartbroken for him to watch his house burn to the ground. And I just hugged him and I didn't think twice about it.
And you hugged her too.
And I had hugged her too, but this is the one that kind of stuck out. We offered at the time because we were heading out on vacation for a couple of weeks. And so we said, you need to come stay at our house because they didn't have anywhere to live. And they were reluctant because that's a hard thing to do, to take that. But later on, the wife had mentioned to you and they had decided to stay at our house. And one of the major reasons she'd mentioned to you was that hug that I had given him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it was just the way that that's the way I operated. But oftentimes, like I said, when we get older and we get into these social situations, we put things around what we can and cannot do. And we forget that pure just human contact is just something that can ground us and help us in those greatest traumatic moments.
Yeah,
even
moments
when
of
your
crisis and moments of
down.
stress and moments of tension. The power of just that being held. And again, it doesn't even need to be any more than that. Just a hug that you just can just be present in can be really powerful.
I think I did remember this week about how important all kinds of physical contact like that is. Amy and I talk about how we've made it a habit of having that physical contact every morning. What did I say last time? More than a snuggle, less than sex. Something like that somewhere in there.
Or simmer.
It's a simmer is what we call it. But when you have an infant and they get up whatever time they want, or you've been up all night holding them because they were congested and couldn't sleep in their crib, that goes out the window.
Yeah, we were taking shifts.
Yeah.
We were still trying to find each other, but we didn't have our...
We were trying. Of course we were trying. But when you're in those moments, you can't. It reminded me. I told Amy, I said, probably need to have a whole episode for young parents. We don't think we have tons of young parents out there that listen. But if you're a young parent out there and you're listening,
bravo to you.
Yeah. Speak up. We'd love to hear from you and know. But it just reminded us of how difficult it is when the kids are young and when you're working and trying to do those things. And the focus has to go on to
their survival.
That's what it has to do.
We were keeping that little baby girl breathing.
But it also reminded me how much I missed just holding you.
After the 3rd day in our emotion check-in, one of the things I said to you is, I just really miss you. Not that you had been distant in any way. He wasn't. He was fully present, but we didn't have as much time to to be together. We were full-time, full care with this infant, and I could feel it. And we weren't disconnected,
Not at all.
but we didn't have our morning simmer. And so we were spending a lot of time holding the baby too. And so we weren't maybe cuddling or hugging as much because our arms were full.
Literally.
Of a little wriggly, lovely one. And I could feel it. I could feel the difference in my body.
Right. And I got to thinking about the importance of that, because when you have it and then it goes away and you realize it really shocks you. And then when you get it back, it reminds you of how important it was. And I think also, and this is important as we talk about this, is that I feel like I missed out on so many of those moments through the first 17 years plus of our marriage, right? Those moments of that pure, just being able to connect physically and touch. And the blocker for me was the expectation of sex or having something more than just that holding, right? And I've talked about it a million times. It was literally my own seeking validation, my own anxiety that was keeping me from being able to just relax and enjoy the physical touch, because I always expected more, because I needed that to tell me I was okay. Mm-hmm. And so I think what's really important, and one of these things that we talk about here, is also getting in contact with yourself and figuring out or try to understand what it means, what this physical relationship, what this physical touch means to you. Because if you go in for this long hug and you think, man, I'm going to get laid, this is great, probably not going to work out so well for you. But I think if someone had told me, hey, you're stressed during the holiday season, hug, 17 years ago, it wouldn't have worked. Because I was misusing that physical contact for something other than just being grounded. And I don't want to say that in a way that you avoid it. I told the story last week of one of my clients that was so concerned that he was going to pour something or get something, set an expectation beyond just the physical touch. They almost missed the whole boat when his wife's, I want some. So right. I don't want to get to a point where you're going to avoid holding each other or taking this moment to do this. But I just want to remind, especially my men folk out there, my spontaneous folk, that we can use that sex as that cover for our anxiety itself. And if you're used to doing that's what you may go for if you take this moment to just hold each other.
I was coaching a gentleman this week, and he labeled this with a word or a title. He gave this a label that I had never heard and put together, but I think it was a pretty accurate description. He called a lot of the physical and pressuring manipulations that he did to get sex with his wife, he called himself a kind bully. He put a lot of kindness over it, made it look like kindness, but underneath that kindness, he was really pressuring, bullying, manipulating, trying to take and get what he wanted. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, whoa, wow, that kind of, when he said that, I was like, ooh. It wasn't me calling him that, to be clear. He was like, oh, I see I've been a kind bully. Mm-hmm. And so I think what you're saying is, when you reach for each other, remember that there's no other expectation than to just hold each other. Right. And I find that couples, male and female, wives and husbands, need this touch, period. This experience of just being held with no extra demands placed upon it. And it's good for both.
And if you can bring yourself to the present to do that, I think that's one big thing, is just be in that presence and not let your mind wander into all kinds of thoughts and things. It's just enjoy that moment. It can be so important. I think one of the most dangerous things, and I think this is what your client was leading to in this being a kind bully, when we can use heroics to justify us, it's so easy. I'm doing this all to save my family. I'm doing this all to protect someone. I'm doing this all to justify your behaviors in a heroic way. And that's, I think, at the meat of that, right? When you can be kind and you can be generous, but there's ulterior motives behind it, it sounds so heroic. And it keeps you in that justified means. I am doing this for someone else. And so that's why I was great at it. I spent a lifetime in there thinking of all the great, wonderful things I was doing, really when I was trying to manipulate the situation to get what I wanted.
Mm.
And we were driving home after dropping our daughter at the airport today. And I was just thinking a lot, and I brought up a little bit. We didn't really talk about a lot, but I'm like, what is at the core of human nature to do this, right? I know we talk about it a lot, but there's something there that causes us to want to protect ourselves in a way that we're willing to do things to the people that we love that we would never do to anyone else.
I think it's that fear of abandonment or rejection. I think it's so strong. And in a spousal marriage relationship, I feel like that's where the rejection could be the highest. And so we start putting up all these guards and walls to protect from that, or to try and make sure, as this gentleman was talking about, that he got what he wanted or what he felt he needed, even if he had to be a bully to get it, because the rejection was so fearful.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is when we go to that place, we end up usually manifesting the thing that we fear most, right? That's the thing that drives the person away from us, that keeps us from being close if we're looking for that closeness. I had a very interesting coaching recently about a man that was he was exhausted. He was just tired all the time. And we talked about why. And it had been mentioned to him by a therapist that potentially that he was overwhelmed. Him and his wife were overwhelmed with the things that they were doing. I knew him well enough that I knew that they're busy. They have their lives, normal lives, but I didn't really trigger into that. There was just so much stuff that they couldn't accomplish that stuff, that they were overwhelmed because they had too many things in their life. I think I've seen a lot of couples that overschedule themselves, that overschedule their kids, have the things. And that literally is the thing is I have too many things to do. And that's what's causing me to be overwhelmed and to have this anxiety at such a high place. Mm-hmm. And maybe be exhausted because I'm just go, 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 and never stop. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get a sense. And so we chatted a little more about this. And finally, I'm like, I don't think you're tired because you have too many things to do. He's like, what are you talking about? I think you're tired because you spend your whole time running away from yourself.
It's the root of anxiety.
Yeah, that's what it was. It's the anxiety. You're running away from yourself.
Separation from yourself.
Yes.
And that's what creates anxiety at its very root, is a separation from self.
Right. And we were able to show some specific examples of, he's like, oh, I was able to totally accomplish this when there was no stress about it because there was no anxiety and I could just go do it. And now when there's anxiety, I just get so whelmed up inside that I can't even move forward on it. And it's causing me to do the thing that I fear the most. It makes no logical sense. When you speak outwards about it, you're like, I need, for example, say you need money, feed the family, but your anxiety is so high, you don't go get work to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the little thing that's keeping you from doing the thing that you have most anxiety about. And it's that thing that you see, it's that being so tired because he was literally running away from his anxiety, and it was exhausting.
Yes. And that's why there is renewed energy when you feel like you're allowed to come home to yourself. When you can say, there I am. That's me. Here I am. Yes, there are all of these things going on, but I'm here. And I think why there's renewal when a couple can take a few moments and just hug and surrender and relax into that hug, because there's that feeling of, oh, there we are. We're still here. And that is renewing. I mean, it may not, again, solve all the scheduling and the demands and tasks, but there's something just like replenishing in it.
At least we're here and we're on the same team.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to not be alone and
put up the white flag at least for a few minutes.
Yeah. To not be fighting against each other, but to feel, okay, I'm not alone in this. We're on the same team. That actually does provide a lot of relief from the stress and overwhelm. And even to just be in that hug and take a deep breath and relax your body and surrender into that moment. to just calm down for a minute, set that burden of all the things aside just for a few minutes. You can pick it back up again just for a few
You can start
minutes.
the fight over once you're done.
Yeah, just give yourself a break for a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get that groundedness and back to a place where you can take a breath.
Or even if you have already had the fight, which I know happens, we're all human, you take a moment and you come back and you just hold each other. The Gottmans talk a lot about repair in a relationship, and sometimes repair happens with words and conversations, and that is important. I don't dismiss that at all. However, a lot of time repair happens from a gesture of love or a physical affection or a long hug, and that sense that I'm sorry, I forgot we weren't on the same team. And that can renew and repair and reset a relationship too. So if you have been in a fight and there has been a conflict and you're both feeling like prickly porcupines and you're setting up your separate camps and you're in that power struggle, take a minute to calm down and then invite, if you're the one listening to this, invite your spouse back into a, and see if you can just relax into each other.
Amy and I haven't become more like each other in the last 5 years.
No,
Not at all. I
we're
haven't,
very, very different.
but I haven't moved in to think more like her, to respond more like her in any way. In fact, maybe even more because I can be honest about how I really feel and not hide. And so I'm probably even more different and vocal about that. I'm saying that because the key is not to become same or be even on the same page, probably like even have the same concept of how to solve a problem or what are the things we should do during the holiday season and what are the things we shouldn't do in the holiday seasons and who should be taking the kids and who should. We don't have to solve the problems and think in the same way because we won't. That's one person usually giving in and folding into someone else. And that's not healthy. The difference that I've seen in the last several years of my life is being curious and knowing the way that Amy processes those things, knowing that they're very different, seeing that, and being okay with that. And that doesn't mean that I give up my opinion. She probably hears more than she ever wants of my opinion. And I don't
You're
give.
not one to hold back.
I've never been one to hold back. Well,
No.
it's interesting. I've never been one to hold back, but there's also points of me I don't think I was completely honest. We talked about that.
Right.
And so I probably lashed out on the unimportant things, and that was the confusing part, right? Because I was covering up for being hiding in the other places. And so it's the interesting part of it. It's the dynamic that we've been talking about it. It's what allows us to be in an intimate place. It exposes us, but yet we choose because we choose this person and we're willing to be exposed and see our weaknesses because we love them and we want to be with them and we choose to be with them. And the thing we desire most is them choosing us. And it's that quiet moment that we pause and we put up the white flag that says, okay, no matter what, I may not even change my opinion or position on this argument. I am going to stop to say that I choose you over everything else, right? And in this moment, I want to choose you. And so I haven't changed or even changed my opinions, but I've been curious to understand what hers are. And then the other crazy part about it is that it's fine. It's okay. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me or that my way of doing things are bad. I just live the world in a very different way than Amy lives the world. And I spent so many years trying to make her live in the same world that I did, to see the things in the same way that I saw them, to act and react to the same things, to parent our children the same way, to schedule the same way, to not be worried about the things I wasn't worried about, to stop being so detail oriented because it was giving me anxiety. There was all the things I tried to change. And I promise you can't.
No.
And that's the crazy hard part about intimate relationships and intimacy itself. it requires you not to change who you are or give in to what you are, but to create space for someone who's not you and thinks very different than you. And how do you make that work? And I haven't solved this completely, because almost every single one of my male clients has gotten to a point where they're like, well, why am I the one that has to give in? Why am I the one that has to give up? Mostly around sex, right? And around sexual intimate relationship. If I want all these things and she's not comfortable with them, why am I the one that have to give in? And it's a whole different thought of it, of my ego getting in the way. And really that's what it was. My ego of having to be right and rewriting that sentence. Like, how can I coexist with this person I care about and be and give space to Amy so that she can be who she is? Because, by the way, 17 years, I didn't change her a bit. I just pushed her away. And that wasn't very good and healthy. So I've seen the other side of it. Don't do that. And so in this moment of tension and anxiety and stress, remember, you're not here to get your way. You're here to coexist with someone else and give them space and together find a solution to the things that are causing stress. And you may not even be able to find a solution, but at least if you're on the same page and you give each other space, you'll have some room to breathe and hopefully have someone to support you in the places that are stressful.
Yeah, I don't think I've changed you much at all.
No, not at all. It's a crazy thing. It's so crazy because it's so different than what we thought an intimate relationship should be.
We really thought it was sameness and unity on
It
all
was
things.
like an exact opposite.
And I love the yin and yang symbol because they are two parts of a whole, right? There's this uniqueness. They're as different as could be. I don't remember if the yin is white or the black. Anyways, one is black, one is white. And there's this
Fold into each other.
This moving, flexible line in
Yeah.
between them. It's not a solid straight line, again, because it requires flexibility for those two to create a whole. And then there's that little circle of the other, yang
Their
and the yin
uniqueness.
and the
Yeah.
yin and the yang. And that little circle is like, here's where we align, and all the other is the differences. And then that line, flexible, flowing line up the river at the middle is like, and here's how we worked together to
Make a
create
whole.
this whole. And it's not like they both became gray.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
not
there's
as
solid
gray.
black, there's
And there's a solid
white,
line.
and there's a solid line, and there's, the black and the white and the black. Like there's pieces of each other that you may adopt and think, but they didn't become gray.
In fact, they're the exact opposite.
Yeah.
The opposite of black is white, right?
Yes.
No, yeah.
And between those two, there is a whole. And I really feel like you are completely different than me. You always will be different than me, but that's part of the beauty of it. And I actually don't want to change you. I want to be able to be flexible with you so that we can create a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It took a lot of pain and suffering to get there. And so we're just hopeful maybe we can say a few things that will help others get there a little quicker than we did. It's going to be the natural cause of being in a real close relationship, of trying to be intimate, right? And if we can help others see that and see ways to be able to be their own and stand on their own 2 feet and be whole, but bend in a way that they want to leave space for the other ones and complete them. I mean, that yin and yang symbol, again, it's a complete circle, right? There's no end to it, but it's made up of these 2 pieces. It's filled, and they're 50-50 too. There's not one that's way bigger than the other and one that's way smaller. And that's usually where we see what happens as soon as this thing of trying to bend someone to their will. What usually happens is one gets small and folds into the other one, and the other one gets larger. We see it. We've seen it in different places in our relationship. We talk about how we overfunction and underfunction, and that's part of it too. We just hope that as you are, we know 100% you're having stress. That's just human nature. We know this time of year, it just gets amplified. That's just human nature. And if you're not and you're happy as can be, please email us and tell us how that happened, because we want to share that with everyone else, or come to our community. That's a great place to share that too. Sign up for our community. and share it with everyone else, because that's what happens. And so we're nowhere there, and we're just hoping that we can help. And like I said, I still snap at Amy and say the wrong things, and we get into arguments and fights, but we remember we're on the same team every day.
And I really think there's something to that physical connection that we have every morning. And yours doesn't have to be in the morning, but it's a non-demand physical touch, right? There is physical touch that is sexual, and that is good too. I'm not dismissing that at all. But we also, as a human being, thrive on physical touch that isn't connected to anything else other than, I
I just
love
want to
you.
be with you.
I'm here for you, just being in someone's presence. And that is a really important part of a marriage.
Yep. We appreciate every opportunity we have to talk with you, even in this midst of being very tired from having been parents when we're not so young. And now we know we had our kids young because we could never do this old. And being able to go through all this, we still just wanted to be here to be able to record our podcast with you all. And we hope that we can make a small difference. We appreciate everyone that listens. And so go like and subscribe to the podcast, because it helps. What it does is it helps other people find it. Tell your friends and family members about it. If this has impacted you in some way, please share it. We want this to grow, because we know there's hundreds of thousands of other people out there that could really, really benefit from having this type of conversation with each other. And we're grateful for everyone that listens, and we're just excited for it. So share it, like, and subscribe if you would.
Please. And thank you for listening.
Until next time.
Take a deep sigh and keep undressing your intimacy.
Bye-bye.